I'm Paul Kohler, I'm head of the School of Law, and I teach property and trusts. Well, what I'd say to students is use the feedback you get, and often you don't realise you're getting feedback. Students usually think of feedback as simply the notes at the end of an essay, or maybe en route to the end of an essay. Yes, that's feedback, and sometimes that's good because the lecturer or academic has put lots of effort into putting the feedback. Sometimes it's less so with increasing numbers. Lecturers don't always have the time to write detailed feedback. However, that's not the only type of feedback that exists. In tutorials, students are often very quiet. Students should partake and listen to what the academic or their fellow students say to them. That's feedback on their thoughts, on their arguments, on their ideas. That's incredibly important feedback. Yes, it's not written down at the end of an essay, but it will help them formulate their ideas, which is absolutely crucial. Likewise, in seminars, there's feedback happening all the time where if students participate, their arguments are raised, or they raise an argument, the academic or other students argue with it. That is all feedback on their thoughts and their ideas about the subject matter. The danger with feedback, or students' obsession with feedback, is they turn it into what was the perfect essay, give me feedback on my essay, tell me what I need to get me a first. It doesn't work like that. What you get is feedback on the approaches you've taken, the ideas you've used, the arguments you've raised, but it's for you to then process that and actually think through what's been said and enter into a dialogue, not to robotically copy whatever the lecturer wrote on your essay, assuming that will get you a first. One of the great problems with students in higher education is they think there's the perfect essay, they think there's a model answer, and they think feedback is all about turning their essay into the model answer. The whole point about teaching and learning at this level is there is no model answer. There are various ways to get to a first, there are various ways to fail. What we're trying to do is show you the various ways you might get to a first, which involves us engaging with your ideas and helping you improve the way you're arguing, the way you're using the material, the way you are thinking. So what I say to students is think about the feedback you're getting, which isn't simply the feedback at the end of an essay. Another area of feedback students never use is the feedback from their peers when there isn't an academic around. Students historically in the UK learn on their own in higher education. You go to an American university, you go to a continental university, students often work in peer groups where they give one another feedback. Students in the UK tend not to do that, and they suffer from it. You will learn an awful lot from your colleagues. You'll learn an awful lot from giving feedback to your colleagues. Far more, actually, than you'll learn from me or one of my fellow academics. So what you should be doing is working in little study groups. You should have study groups before your tutorial to think about the issues that will come up. And if you're really sensible, you'll have a study group after your tutorial to actually go through the arguments raised and argue about what the academics said and what the others said. Another issue about feedback is students seem to regard the lecturer as being the font of all knowledge. Now, this is crazy. Academics are not gods. They are simply mortal men and women with feet of clay. You can argue with them, you can disagree with them. The way to a first is not to tell me what I think, because you'll probably say it in a way I don't agree with anyway. You'll probably irritate me. Say what you think, informed by the feedback you've received from many, including your colleagues, your academics, and others writing in the field. Now, one of the problems when you're getting all this oral feedback is how to remember it, how to note it. The mistake some students make, or many students make, is they try and write down everything that's said. So a good student will not engage in the tutorial or the seminar because they're too busy writing down what everyone else is saying. Now, this isn't sensible. You're not engaging yourself. You just become a stenographer noting down others' comments. So what is the trick? Well, the trick is to ensure you do not take too many notes. What you should do is write down key words or phrases either said or encapsulating your response to what was said. If you perfect that technique, Your notes will remind you of the conversation far better than an attempt to write down a verbatim transcript of all that was said. But I always encourage students not to use their computers at this time. Why? Well, one, because they tend to just get obsessed with the screen and looking at that rather than engaging in the class. Secondly, because in exams you're still assessed by what you write with pen and paper. Therefore you need to practice using pen and paper. Therefore it's far better to take notes in lectures and seminars and tutorials on pen and paper, because what you see increasingly is students writing an exam when for 9 months they've typed at a keyboard. Yes, it'd be wonderful if we assess you in exams via a keyboard, but until we do, use pen and paper during your formative period in those 9 months prior to the exam.